A 9-year-old accidentally killed her shooting instructor Monday with an Uzi submachine gun. And sheriff's officials just announced there will be no charges.
This video sheds light on the deadly consequences of gun culture. Another tragedy happened when a 9-year-old girl accidentally killed her instructor with an Uzi. Should children have access to firearms in any situation? And what steps can we take to promote gun safety and responsibility? The shocking truth behind gun accidents and child fatalities. How many more innocent lives will be lost before we address the dangerous combination of children and guns? August 2014. An incident that would shock the nation took place at the Bullets and Burgers shooting range in White Hills, Arizona. A 9-year-old girl visiting the range with her family accidentally shot and killed her instructor, Charles Veka, while handling an Uzi submachine gun. The tragic event went viral after a video recording of the shooting was shared widely on social media. What kind of psychological trauma would the 9-year-old girl, the instructor's family, and witnesses experience as a result of the incident? The incident raised serious concerns about children's involvement in gun culture, sparking a heated debate about the appropriate age for children to handle firearms. Critics of the shooting range claimed that the fatal accident was the result of the instructor's lack of judgment and the girl's lack of experience with such a deadly weapon. But the proponents of gun ownership and gun culture countered that such incidents were rare and isolated and should not be used to support stricter gun control laws. In addition, it is important to note that gun violence has increasingly become a pressing concern in public discourse. A significant portion of the debate revolves around gun control and preventing potentially dangerous individuals, especially those with mental health issues, from accessing lethal weapons. Regrettably, the impact of gun violence on its victims often receives far less attention. While those killed or injured in tragic incidents like the Sandy Hook and Aurora Theater shootings are publicly commemorated and grieved, the scope of these tragedies extends beyond the people directly affected by these dreadful events. The repercussions of gun violence reach entire communities, families, and children. In just a few years, more than 25% of children have witnessed an act of violence in their homes, schools, or communities, and over 5% have seen a shooting. The consequences of such experiences are far-reaching and must not be overlooked. Charles Veka was an experienced and knowledgeable firearms instructor, a veteran of the U.S. Army, and he had been operating in the taking pictures variety for numerous years. However, the powerful Uzi submachine gun that the younger female was using proved too difficult to govern, leading to the deadly coincidence. Uzi is a speedy firing weapon designed for military and law enforcement use and has a reputation for being challenging to deal with, even for experienced shooters. The incident prompted the Mojave County Sheriff's Office to release an investigation into the capturing variety's protection protocols, which brought about an exchange in the variety's policies and strategies. The minimum age for handling firearms on the variety was expanded from 8 to 12, and kids under the age of 18 were required to be followed by the presence of a dad or mom at all times. The variety additionally stopped renting out automated firearms and ramped up its protection measures. The deadly coincidence also rekindled the contentious debate around gun management legal guidelines in the United States. Some gun management advocates seized on the possibility of calling for stricter legal guidelines and regulations on firearms. Others argued that such measures might infringe on the character rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The incident highlighted the deep divide within the U.S. over the difficulty of gun ownership and the protection of the public. The tragic incident at the Bullets and Burgers Taking Pictures range in White Hills, Arizona, was not the first time that a child had been involved in a taking pictures accident. There were several other incidents of kids capturing themselves or others by chance, frequently with deadly outcomes. One of the high-profile cases earlier than the Arizona capture involved a boy named Christopher Bizzle, who accidentally shot and killed himself while firing an Uzi at a gun display in Massachusetts in 2008. Christopher's father had given him permission to fireplace the weapon, which turned into provided with the aid of a firearms instructor who had assured the own family that the boy ought to cope with it. The incident raised serious questions about the lack of safety measures on such occasions and the understanding of permitting youngsters to handle dangerous weapons. In 2013, a 5-year-old boy in Kentucky by accident shot and killed his 2-year-old sister with a rifle that had been given to him as a gift. The rifle was left in a corner of the circle of relatives domestic, and the boy had controlled to preserve it without adult supervision. The tragedy triggered calls for greater cognizance of the risks of preserving firearms in the home, especially around children. Another incident involved a 6-year-old in New Jersey who by accident shot and killed a 4-year-old neighbor along with his father's rifle in 2013. The boy had found the weapon in his house and had been playing with it while the gun went off. The incident highlighted the need for higher storage of firearms in houses wherein children are present, as well as the significance of educating children about the risks of weapons. These and other comparable incidents have fueled the continued debate around gun manipulation and the need for greater safety measures when it comes to dealing with weapons. While a few argue that stricter gun laws are had to prevent such tragedies, others factor into the significance of individual obligation and training. Regardless of the approach, it's miles clear that extra needs to be executed to prevent accidents regarding youngsters and firearms, and to ensure that such guns are treated safely and responsibly at all times. Submachine guns, just like the Uzi used in the Arizona shooting, are rapid-firing guns designed for Army and law enforcement use and are able to fire a couple of rounds in short succession. They aren't normally utilized by civilians, and even experienced shooters can find it hard to control them. In the arms of a baby or green shooter, a submachine gun may be in particular danger, as the recoil and noise may be overwhelming, making it hard to maintain and manage correctly. The incident additionally raised questions about the appropriate age for kids to deal with firearms. While a few argue that youngsters can discover ways to take care of weapons properly with proper coaching and supervision, others trust that the dangers are honestly too fantastic and that kids should not be allowed to handle firearms until they're old enough to absolutely apprehend the consequences of their actions. What could be done to cope with the bigger problem of gun violence in society? Child guns, or guns advertised in particular to youngsters, have additionally been a source of controversy in recent years. Some gun manufacturers produce firearms designed for youngsters, including brightly colored rifles or handguns with cool animated film characters on them, which critics argue glamorizes the gun way of life and makes firearms seem like toys. Others argue that such weapons can be used as gear for teaching children about gun protection and duty, and that mothers and fathers should have the right to determine when and how their youngsters are brought weapons. Rather than one's role in gun possession and gun lifestyle, it is clear that the incident in Arizona serves as a reminder of the need for greater protection measures with regard to firearms, especially when kids are worried. Whether via stricter laws and policies or multiplied training and consciousness, it's far more important that steps are taken to prevent comparable tragedies from happening in the future. Regardless of the technique, it's clear that a lot of work needs to be done to prevent injuries concerning children and firearms, and to ensure that such guns are treated accurately and responsibly at all times. In the United States, children aged 0 to 14 experience significantly higher rates of accidental firearm deaths compared to their counterparts in other developed countries, about 10 times higher in fact, according to Richardson and Hemingway 2011. The estimate is likely on the conservative side since it relies on data from death certificates. Research has shown that many unintentional shootings involving children in the U.S., such as when 2 kids were playing with a gun they believed was unloaded, are classified as homicides in the vital statistics data. Although vital statistics data accurately reflect the total firearm-related deaths, there are significant misclassifications between categories. For example, homicides versus accidents. One study examining the accuracy of data systems for unintentional firearm fatalities found that the vital statistics system failed to identify 38% of actual cases surrounding primarily gun accidents involving children that were misclassified as homicides, and that 42% of reported cases were false positives. These involved mainly gun deaths among adults with undetermined intent. In contrast, the National Violent Death Reporting System had a positive predictive value of 99% for accidental gun deaths. How are we able to better educate kids about the risks of weapons and the importance of gun safety? Subscribe to the channel for more amazing news from around the globe. Remember that preventing toddler gun shooting incidents requires a multifaceted technique that entails training, awareness, and responsible gun ownership. By taking these steps, we may help promote a safer and more accountable gun culture in your community. Click on the video links popping up for more insights into relevant incidents.